My sister passed away, leaving behind a pair of young children. My mother begged me to remarry my brother-in-law. I didn't hesitate and said directly, "My nephew is precious. Can I have a beating if he doesn't obey me?" The mother nodded repeatedly, "Of course. My niece is delicate. Can you criticize her if she makes a mistake?" "No problem." I finally said, "What about my brother-in-law? I've disliked him for a long time. Can I beat him up?" The mother wiped her sweat and said, "You'll have to ask your mother-in-law. After all, he's not my son." 1. After my eldest sister passed away, my mother worried day and night and couldn't sleep or eat. Every time I see her with dark circles under her eyes, and looking like she wants to say something to me but hesitates, I feel very unhappy. Over the years, my sister grew up pampered by her and my father, while I was raised by my grandparents in Jiaguan. My mother already owed me, but when I returned home, instead of looking for a good marriage for me, she planned to let me marry my brother-in-law again. Fortunately, she and her father knew how to be cautious, and did not dare to mention it directly. They just sighed in front of me every day. I was very upset and wanted to write a letter to my grandfather and take my men back to Jiaguan. I thought they wouldn't be able to say anything. But occasionally, when I caught a glimpse of the silver threads in my mother's hair, her gloomy expression, and my father's increasingly hunched body, I still felt a little bit reluctant. Forget it, I'll just consider it as repaying them for giving birth to me. So I simply told my mother straight out, "You can marry into the Jinyang Earl's mansion, but you have to obey me in everything." The mother was so moved that she covered her face and cried, "My son, I knew you still cared about us." I said coldly, "Stop it. Let's be frank up front to avoid further arguments later." The mother wiped her tears awkwardly and said, "You're a good child in every way, except your personality. You take after your grandfather." After saying this, she quickly added, "If you're willing to marry into the Beau's mansion, that's perfect. You know, your brother-in-law is busy with official duties and can't take care of the 2 children. Yunjier is only 6 years old. Without a mother to raise her, how will she find a good family in the future? Yugur is only 3 years old. How can he grow up well? If he falls into the hands of your stepmother, your sister will know, she will die with regret." As I was talking, I started to cry again. I sighed, my head aching even more. 2. Speaking of my sister, she really has a hard life. She is gentle, beautiful, virtuous and kind. Although we didn't spend much time together, she has always been very kind to me. My brother-in-law is Zhao Yuhua, the eldest son of the Jinyang Earl's mansion. He is handsome and talented in both civil and military affairs. He is currently serving as a vice minister in the Ministry of Justice. They are a well-matched couple and have a pair of lovely children. This marriage is envied by almost everyone. But my sister was weak, and at the beginning of last year, she died of a cold. Now that my brother-in-law has finished his mourning period, word has come from the Jinyang Earl's mansion that they want to continue the friendly relationship between our Yu family and the 2 families. My mother didn't agree at first. After all, she knew me well and knew that I had been used to a comfortable life since I was a child, and didn't want to live in a wealthy family. But she was too worried about the 2 children left by her sister. Now the population of the Beau's mansion is complicated, and the Beau's wife is in poor health. The household finances are managed by Mrs. Li, the wife of the second wife. Mrs. Li also has a son who is 2 years older than Yuger. She is a person who likes to show off and be the center of attention. The 2 children born to my sister were trapped in their own yard all day long, taken care of by their wet nurse, and became more and more petty. If a stepmother came into the family, the 2 children's lives would be even more difficult. I thought about it over and over again, but I still couldn't let it go. It would only take 10 years. 10 years later, Sister Yun will be married and Brother Yu will have grown up. By then I will be 26 years old, and will go back to Jiaguan. 3. Thinking of this, I said to my mother, "Since you have entrusted me with this, I must fulfill my motherly duties." Yuer is precious. If he makes a mistake, how could I possibly hit him? The mother nodded quickly, of course you can. If you don't hit me and just flatter me and spoil me, I'll be worried. That's about right. I continued, what about Sister Yun? Can I scold her? No problem. My mother is quite sensible. I finally said, what about my brother-in-law? I've disliked him for a long time. Can I beat him up? The mother wiped her sweat and said, you'll have to ask your mother-in-law. After all, he's not my son. Finally, I asked solemnly, Mother, can you trust me? My mother looked at me deeply and said, you are my child, and you were raised by your grandfather. You are both wise and brave, and you are righteous. If I don't trust you, then no one else will. Just this sentence is enough. 4. In this way, I brought the people and a large amount of dowry back from Jiaguan, and married into the Jinyang Earl's mansion in a grand manner as everyone wished. A second wife usually doesn't have as rich a dowry and ceremony as mine. The people in the Jinyang Marquis' mansion were very perceptive and immediately realized that my status in my mother's family was no less than that of my sister. On our wedding night, I wanted to make things clear with Zhao Yuhua. From then on, they lived together, raised children, and kept to themselves. Who would have thought that it was not until the moon was high in the middle of the night that this guy was drunk? He was helped back to his room by several servants and fell asleep. My maids looked at each other in bewilderment, saying, Sir, how could you do this? It is really unacceptable not to drink the wedding wine and spend the bridal chamber on the wedding night. Besides, he is not a young boy, so how could he be drunk so easily? After all, he still doesn't pay enough attention to me, his second wife. I think maybe he didn't want me to get pregnant so soon, and thus affect the 2 children left by my sister. Since we have the same goal, there is no point in making things difficult for him. I waved my hand and asked my men to change his clothes and throw him on the couch. The next day, Zhao Yuhua woke up slowly. I had already dressed up and the maids in the room were waiting for him. Seeing that I looked normal, without any sign of resentment or grievance, he was somewhat surprised and explained, last night, the Marquis of Zhongshan and his men forced me to drink. I interrupted his feeble excuses and said, Husband, it's time to go to the ancestral hall to recognize your relatives. Zhao Yuhua saw my cold expression and eyes, and was stunned for a moment before saying, Okay, I'll clean it up right away. After he had tidied everything, he took me to the Zhao family ancestral hall. Along the way, no more words were spoken. I heard from my sister's former maid that Zhao Yuhua was a serious and steady person. He was very frugal with his words and never spoke out loud. He was quite authoritative at home. When my sister gets along with him, she often needs to be extra careful to guess his intentions. If she guessed right, she would naturally get his affirmation. If she guessed wrong, he would not speak harshly to her, but would just treat her coldly and let her figure it out herself. My sister lived with him for several years and always took good care of him. This time he deliberately got drunk on our wedding night. If I had been gentle and understanding, he would definitely have given me a good look. But I didn't, so in his heart, I was a woman who was not virtuous and gentle enough. These conceited scholars all have their own ways of educating their wives behind their backs, but unfortunately I don't have the heart to pay attention to him. 5. When I met my relatives, I finally met all the relatives in the Beau's mansion. The Jinyang Marquis' mansion is prosperous. In addition to the first and second wives who are legitimate children, there are also the third and fourth wives, who are concubines. I heard that there are also several aunts who have already married off. Mrs. Beau looked gentle and kind, but her face was pale, and it was obvious that she was not in good health. The second wife, Mrs. Li, who is in charge of the household, is shrewd but also domineering. Every word she says is full of wit. I heard that my sister is always at a disadvantage when she gets along with her. The way she treated me, it was obvious that she wanted to suppress me. After meeting all the peers one by one, my sister's 2 children were brought by their wet nurse to pay their respects to me. Sister Yun was fine, she behaved very properly, but brother Yu was timid and looked very cowardly. Zhao Yuhua frowned, with displeasure in her eyes, as if she was not satisfied with her son. When Uyghur was glared at by his father, the fear in his eyes became even stronger. I sighed inwardly, my fists were starting to become less clenched. 6. After the recognition, the lady gently asked me to go back to my own yard to rest. I followed their lead and took the 2 children with me. When I arrived at my own courtyard, I first instructed the servants to arrange the dowry and the people I brought with me. Then I said to Yunjier and Uyghur, from now on, come to my place for breakfast every morning. Yunjier had already been taught by her nanny, so she said honestly and seriously, yes, mother. Song, Yuer's wet nurse, whispered, Madam, my brother is still young and can't get up too early. How about I bring him here every night for dinner? I looked up at Mrs. Song. I had heard that she was a dedicated and responsible person who treated Yuer as her own son. It was true. But if the child is left in the care of such a short-sighted woman for a long time, he will not be able to survive in this wealthy family. I said calmly, Brother Yu is 3 years old, he's not a kid anymore. Breakfast here isn't very early, so as long as he goes to bed early and gets up early, there's nothing he can't do. Looking into Song's eyes, I slowly said, Master is very busy with official duties, and only breakfast is available at home. Yuer has lost his biological mother, so is it possible that he can't even see his father all day long? The less contact Uyghur has with Zhao Yuhua, the more likely he is to get scared. Boys cannot always grow up with their wet nurses and mothers, they need their fathers to educate and cultivate them. Song stammered, Yes, I'll listen to you, madam. When Yunjier's wet nurse Jai saw that Song was defeated, a slight look of pride appeared in her eyes. After making the arrangements, I let the children go back to rest. 7. In this way, the days unfolded peacefully and orderly. Ever since Zhao Yuhua was interrupted by me in front of everyone last time, she has not come to explain anything to me, and has been busy with her official duties. He didn't come to my room at night, but went directly to his concubines Lu and Su. Gradually, gossip began to spread in the mansion, saying that I was not favored by the prince. I turned a deaf ear to him. Anyway, he would come and have breakfast with me every day, which was considered giving me the respect I deserved. I knew Zhao Yuhua was punishing me and wanted to dampen my fighting spirit. But I really wanted it, and I didn't have the heart to deal with him. Every day I would ask the small kitchen to cook some meals that suit Yunjiao and Uyghur's taste, carefully ask about their lives, and let the 2 children get close to their father. When Uyghur first faced Zhao Yuhua, he was so reserved that he didn't even dare to move his chopsticks. After a few days, he finally dared to speak a few words occasionally. At least he dared to say, I want to eat buns, or I want to drink millet porridge, and after that, he was not so hesitant anymore. He is still young, and is easily guided and influenced by adults. Moreover, all the children admire their father wholeheartedly, and no one hates their own father. I would only behave gently and kindly when the 2 children were around. As soon as the children left, my face instantly turned cold, and I never looked at Zhao Yuhua again. Even if Zhao Yuhua was as calm as an old dog, he couldn't help but be confused by such a huge contrast with me. Once, Sister Yun brought me a piece of silk cord she had woven. Although it was still very tender and rough, I praised it to the sky. It's so beautiful, Yuna, are you going to give it to your mother? I said with a smile. Sister Yun blushed and said, yeah. I handed the silk thread to Zhao Yuhua and said, Look at how clever and skillful our sister Yun is. She's just like my sister when she was little. Zhao Yuhua was used to me only paying attention to him at this time, so he just said, softly. I motioned for him to speak a few more words, and said with a hint of threat in my voice, Husband, is that so? Zhao Yuhua glanced at me and said, Sister Yun did a good job. Yunjier was indeed very happy and said crisply, I'll make one for my father when I get home. Uyghur shouted, Sister, I want one too, I want one too. Sister Yun didn't say anything and returned to her seat. 8. I've noticed a long time ago that Sister Yin seems to dislike Brother Yu a little bit. Logically speaking, they are siblings and both lost their mother, so they should be more united. Why is this happening? Before I knew it, the two children had been taken back. But Zhao Yuhua didn't leave and called me, Madam. Hey, why is he still here? I frowned slightly. Husband, is there anything else? Zhao Yuhua wasn't angry at all. Instead, she asked with interest, can I call you Wujio from now on? What disease does he have? I raised an eyebrow and said, you can call me whatever you want, my husband. It's just a name. Zhao Yuhua said frankly, Wujio, you and I are already husband and wife. There's no need to be so distant. You can just call me Yuhua. Seeing that I didn't say anything, he whispered, you've been doing great since you first arrived, and I've seen it all. I was worried that the two children would suffer after your sister passed away, but I didn't expect you to be so considerate of them. Look, even a dog has a heart, and can distinguish between good and bad. I said calmly, my dear husband, you are too polite. This is what I should do. Seeing that I refused to call him by his name, Zhao Yuhua laughed self-deprecatingly and said, never mind. We have a long way to go. You are still young and naive. I will be more tolerant. But you must also remember not to become arrogant because of your favor. As a wife, you should be gentle, respectful, and frugal. Before he could finish, I put down the teacup with a thud. I have something else to do, so I'll pay less. What a psycho. Who has the patience to listen to him? Even my grandfather doesn't have such a strong dad vibe. 9. I was worried about Yunjie and Yugur, so I walked quietly to Yugur's residence. The maid said that Song took Yugur to the garden to play. I nodded and followed him straight to the garden. But as soon as I reached the garden gate, I heard the quarrel between two children inside. This is mine. What's yours is mine. This was a gift from my mother. Where is your mother? Your mother is dead, that's your stepmother. I was furious when I heard this, so I rushed in and saw that it was Tsonga, the eldest son of the second wife Li, who was arguing with Yugur. Tsonga is 2 years older than Yugur and is obviously taller. He snatched the 9-ring chain from Yugur's hand and pushed Yugur hard. Yugur felt so aggrieved that tears welled up in his eyes were red, and he looked very pitiful. But Mrs. Song and several maids seemed to have gotten used to it. They only comforted Yugur and said that there were other toys in the yard. I suppressed my anger, strode over, snatched the toy back, and scolded him, Tsonga, you are the older brother, why are you bullying your younger brother? When Yugur saw me coming, he was like a savior and cried, Mom, my brother has taken away so many of my toys. He keeps taking them away. Song quickly said, Madam, children shouldn't play and fight like this. I glanced at her coldly, only to see that she dared not say a word. Then I poked Tsonga's eyebrows with my hand and said, You are so young, why don't you learn your lesson? Tsonga had never been scolded by anyone before, so he burst into tears with a wow. The maid beside him quickly stepped forward to block me, saying dissatisfiedly, Madam, the child is just playing around. You are an adult, how can you take a child's things? Just now a group of adults were standing here pretending to be dead, and now they run out to stand out. I slapped her in the face. I was wondering how Tsongur could become such a bad person. It's all because of you little rascals. The old woman covered her face and cried, why did you hit me? I said coldly, Soma stole yours things, and you didn't stop him but instigated him. Shouldn't you be beaten? I tell you, Yua may have lost his biological mother, but he still has me, Yu Wujio. We have the Yu mansion. My grandfather was a mighty general who defended our country at Jiaoling Pass. If he knew you were bullying his great-grandson, he would chop you down as a sacrifice. When I said this, the old woman and several maids were so frightened that their faces turned pale and their bodies trembled. It's not that they don't know all this, they just think that Yugur's family has no right to interfere. After teaching this group of people a lesson, Song stammered, Madam, isn't it too much, after all, she's from the second house, the second madam. I sternly said, someone bullied Ewer, and instead of telling me, you told him to put up with it. Ewer is the eldest son and grandson of the Zhao family, so how could he possibly put up with it? What kind of logic is that? I want to make such a fuss so that everyone in the house can hear it, and see who will look down on my sister's 2 children in the future. In wealthy families, these servants all follow suit. If you are not respected at the beginning, life will become increasingly difficult in the future. 10. Before evening, the second wife, Mrs. Li, had already filed a complaint with the old lady. My sister-in-law hit Song and his wet nurse right after she got married. I don't know where she got so angry. The 2 kids were just playing together happily. Isn't this bullying? The lady is old and she likes family harmony the most. She hopes that every descendant will be close to each other and doesn't like troublemakers like me. When she sent someone to call me over, all the female relatives were waiting for me in the main hall. No one dared to breathe, and for a moment you could hear a pin drop. I raised my eyebrows. This little thing was turned into a Hongman banquet. Old man, I want to hear what you have to say. The lady said to me seriously, which was rare. The second madam added fuel to the fire, feeling aggrieved. Sister-in-law is still young, so it's natural she has a bad temper. But our Tsong is only 5 years old, and she scared him so much he came home with a fever. Ultimately, it's all because of my incompetence as a mother. She is very good at confusing right and wrong. No wonder my sister always suffered at her hands. Before I could say anything, Zhao Yuhua rushed back and said to the madam, Wu Jiu is still young, so it's inevitable that she loves her son so much that she's lost her mind. Before he could finish, the lady shook her head unhappily. This is not a reason to beat or scold Songer. As a family, harmony among siblings is the most important thing. Over the years, Li often brought Songer to please the lady. Although they are both grandsons, the lady certainly values the former more. Zhao Yuhua valued filial piety above all else. Seeing her mother angry, she quickly said to me, Wu Jiu, quickly admit your mistake to mother. And apologize to your younger siblings. What do you want me to apologize for? I sneered, pushed him aside and walked out, saying calmly, what happened today was something I had no choice but to do. The lady frowned and asked, what do you mean? The second wife yelled, sister-in-law is so stubborn. She even thinks she's justified in bullying a child. I'm not asking her to apologize, I just ask her not to scare our Tsong brother again. He's our only son. At this time, Zhao Yuhua was also a little dissatisfied and said, why are you so stubborn? This group of people surrounded me as if they wanted to eat me. But I wasn't scared. I didn't even frown when facing foreign enemies in Jiaguan, let alone this room full of stupid women and children. I said word by word, I only just learned today that Song has been bullying Yuer and causing his mother's death for a year now. My sister-in-law knew all about it, yet she didn't discipline him. My poor sister, if she knew about this, I wonder how heartbroken she would be. After saying that, I took out a list. Written on it were all the toys and items that Songa had snatched away in the past year, including 9 linked rings, bamboo dragonflies, rattles, glass lanterns, so many, it took up more than a whole page. Look at you, I yelled back, this glass lamp is my sister's dowry, and you haven't even let it go. Is this just children playing around, or are you guys from the second branch trying to rob us? If you want something, just tell us. We in the Yu family can afford it, just treat it like a beggar. Just don't make it so awkward. You're hurting the relationship between the children. Li took the page and her expression changed slightly as she said, how could there be such things? My sister-in-law is so good at making things up. I sneered, whether it's there or not, we'll know if we go to your courtyard and take a look. My sister's dowry all bears the mark of our Yu family. If it's not, I'll pour you some tea and apologize. If it is, it's not a big deal. Just eat it all and we'll let it go. I spoke with certainty, but Li's face changed drastically. These things are all small odds and ends, and she must have seen a lot of them in her daily life. 3 or 5 pieces really don't matter, but when the number is too large, it becomes hard to tell. The situation suddenly turned around. 11. The lady frowned and looked at Lee, saying, "Is this true?" Lee murmured in defense, "It's not that much. It's just a joke between children. It's common for brothers to exchange toys." I laughed heartily. "If it's an exchange, why don't we have anything from your second room?" "So my sister-in-law calls this an exchange. It's absolutely ridiculous." Lee's defense was too weak, so she could only say, "Of course it was those cunning servants around Sunga who tricked me. Don't worry, Mother. I'll punish them severely when I get home. This won't happen again." At this point, everyone understood what had happened. The lady thought for a moment and said, "Yours mother is gone, it's already pitiful. You must educate Songer well when you go back. Never do this again next time." Lee quickly said, "Mother is right. Songer is only 5 years old. How could he understand anything? He must have been instigated by the people around him. My sister-in-law is also guilty. Just talk to me." The lady nodded slowly. Are they trying to make a big deal out of a small matter? Or are they trying to shift the blame? Who agreed? I said loudly, "Madam, Songer keeps snatching yours things. Ultimately, it's because he lacks discipline. This is fine if it happens within our family, but if it gets out to the public, it will really make people laugh. Besides, not everything can be taken. Among them is a jade rui ornament that was given to my grandfather by His Majesty, and my grandfather gave it to my sister. If this imperial gift is stolen and word gets out, I'm afraid it will be a big deal." After I finished speaking, everyone's expression finally changed. 12. A gift from the Emperor. Everyone in the Beau's mansion changed their expressions. Lee's tone changed slightly and she said, "What do you mean by an imperial gift? I dare not say such nonsense." I said I knew my sister-in-law wouldn't dare to acknowledge me. Fortunately, I haven't been idle this afternoon. "Hong Yuan, tell the second madam where this jade rui is now." Hong Yuan walked out from beside me and said clearly, "I've found out everything Song Ji stole. All the things he stole are in a box under his bed. There are at least 30 or 50 items, and the jade rui is also in it. This girl used to be a scout in Jiaguan. It's really a waste of her talent to use her in the inner court where there are intrigues." I turned to the lady and said, "Mother, if you can find the item, please send someone to look for it." The lady was in a difficult situation, and had no choice but to ask her trusted maid to come over. I didn't want to give them a chance to hide their secrets, so I said to Hong Yuan, "You follow me too." Hong Yuan shouted, "Yes." After a while, the box of toys was brought back. Lee had no more excuses, her face looked extremely ugly, and she almost wanted to find a hole to crawl into. She knew that Songer had always bullied Yuger, but she didn't expect him to be so excessive. This is all a misunderstanding. Sister-in-law, mother, this is all caused by this wicked slave. I sighed and took out the small jade rui. This was once my favorite thing. I often played with it when I was in Jiaguan. Later, my sister sent me a dress she had sewn by hand, so I gave this to her. The dead are gone, but rui remains. I presented it to the Madam Dowager, so that she could see the seal of the Imperial Household Department. Seeing the jade rui being found, Li was finally frightened. Her face was pale as she looked at the old lady. Mother, this is really a misunderstanding. Children playing together shouldn't count. I will teach Song a lesson when I get home, and make him apologize to you. Sister-in-law, you are so magnanimous. We are a family. Let's forget about this." As she said this, she was about to kneel down in front of me. I turned sideways to avoid her movements, and only looked at the lady and Zhao Yuhua. With such a commotion, the lady was ashamed. She sighed deeply and said, "In the final analysis, it is my fault for not managing the household properly. I feel so ashamed of yours, mother. When Zhao Yuhua heard my mother say this, she simply said to me, everything is clear now. Let's just forget about it. We're all family. A family. I married here specifically because I was afraid that Song'er and Yunjie would encounter such a family. This matter is of grave importance. As a woman, I dare not make the decision. I can only ask my family to come over and write to my grandfather to clarify the matter. Now that I've caught you, if I don't squeeze the water out of you today, I'm not Yu Wuzhou. 13. Seeing that I was determined to make a big deal out of this, the Zhao family members all looked unhappy. I softly instructed Hong Yuan, ride fast, and I'll go to my mother's house. Call the master and the mistress over and tell them we have something important to discuss. Hong Yuan said, yes. The Lady Tai and Mrs. Li were so anxious that they were at a loss as to what to do. They said, why do this? There's no need to do this. Li was so anxious that she was sweating profusely. She begged, I apologize to you, sister-in-law. Please don't blame me. Please don't blame me. Zhao Yuhua stared at me intently, her words tinged with threat. Yu Wuzhou, you must know when to stop. Enough is enough. When Song'er bullied Yuger, why didn't anyone tell him to stop? I gently raised my head and said sternly, my husband, I don't understand what you mean. The gift from the emperor is a serious matter. You must not take it lightly. My husband is an official in the court, so he must know more than a mere woman like me. Doesn't he like to preach? Is there any greater truth than that of heaven, earth, the emperor and parents? You. Zhao Yuhua was furious. If this incident today gets out, the Zhao family will lose all face. Just as Zhao Yuhua and I were arguing, an old voice came from the hall. The old man walked out slowly and said, shut up. When everyone saw that the old man was disturbed, they all bowed hurriedly. The lady looked ashamed and sighed, it's all my fault. Li even knelt on the ground, crying, please, father-in-law, help me. Song'er is still young, he really didn't mean it. I will strictly discipline him from now on and make sure he doesn't make any mistakes. The old man's eyes slowly swept across everyone's faces and finally fell on me. He said in a deep voice, Big Boss's wife, what do you want? Just tell me. As expected of you, old uncle, you know I won't let this go today. I bowed slightly and whispered, after my sister passed away, my mother worried day and night. She married me in to protect the two children from suffering. Yunjie and Yug are not only descendants of the Zhao family, but also of our Yu family. Aren't you afraid that your sister-in-law will be disappointed by letting Tsonga do this? Li no longer dared to argue, and even dared not breathe, just lowered her head. The old man nodded and said, what do you think? Now we can negotiate terms. I said coldly, Brother Tsong is precious, so naturally I must discipline him strictly. But those servants, their crimes are truly unforgivable. Please hand over their deeds so that I can help discipline them, and uphold the family rules. Li suddenly looked up, his eyes full of disbelief and hatred. If her subordinates gave it to me, she would definitely become the laughingstock of everyone in the mansion. The old man gave me a deep look and said, the elders are too strict. It's bad for your reputation. I said frankly, reputation. We're teaching this servant a lesson behind closed doors, so who would know? Only if it gets out would people criticize me. But since I've married into the family, I'm the daughter-in-law of the Earl's mansion. Our success and failure are ours. I'm sure no one will gossip about me behind my back. Seeing that I was refusing to give in, the old man finally sighed and said, Second brother's family, hand over the deeds of those people to your sister-in-law. Li cried out anxiously, Father. How can this be allowed? The old man slammed the table and shouted, If I tell you to, then do it. Otherwise, you unvirtuous woman, I will let my second son divorce you and send you back to your parents' home. When she heard that he was going to divorce her, Li was so frightened that she trembled all over and dared not speak any more. The old man's face was extremely gloomy. He said word by word, let's end this matter. No one should mention it again. You all know the principle of not airing family disgrace in public. He happened to be looking at me when he said the last sentence. I pretended not to know and said yes along with everyone else. 14. At this point, the Lee family had lost all their dignity and face. She handed me the indentures of her subordinates with a pale face, not daring to say another word, her eyes filled with resentment. I took the box containing the indenture slowly, leaned close to her ear, and whispered, "I'm not my sister, and I won't tolerate any injustice. This is just a small punishment, but if you dare to mess with me again, I'll rip your intestines out and wrap them around Songer's neck." Lee suddenly looked up and looked at me with fear. I responded with a cocky, smug smile that meant, "I'm not kidding." A great victory in the first battle. I led a group of people back to my yard in a mighty procession. Hong Yuan had already investigated everything and said to me, "This old lady's son is the worst. She was the one who instigated Song to bully you. This Chuanya is neither good nor bad, and this Xiuxue is not a good person either." In just a few words, he pointed out the mistakes of these slaves. I said coldly, "All right, each of you will be given 30 lashes of the cane, and sold to a bitter cold land as slaves. Now I am killing a chicken to scare the monkeys. If I am not ruthless enough, it will not have a deterrent effect." After hearing this, the maids begged for mercy, "Madam, please forgive us. Madam, we are wrong." For a while, cries for mercy were heard one after another in the yard. I waved my hand and said, "Take him down and beat him up. Make sure everyone in the mansion can hear it." Hong Yuan rolled up her sleeves and said, "Xiao Hu and the others are best at fighting with military sticks. I'll let them go right away." Xiao Hu was also brought back from Jiaguan by me. He used to be in charge of punishment in the surprise attack team. But if Xiao Hu takes action, will these people still be alive? I whispered, "Tell Xiao Hu to be careful and keep his life." 15. During this period, I never had a head-on confrontation with Lee. This is the opportunity one have been waiting for. What I want is to establish my authority completely. At this time, Zhao Yuhua returned to the courtyard with a sullen face and said coldly, "I have something to tell you. The old man just kept him here, he must be dissatisfied with the fact that he couldn't control his wife. But what does it have to do with me if his father scolds him?" I raised my eyebrows and went back to the main room with him. "Yu Wujiu, you've gone too far. Your sister is so virtuous and gentle, how could she have a biological sister like you?" Zhao Yuhua scolded. "If he hadn't mentioned my sister, I wouldn't be so angry. If my sister were still alive and saw Yugur being bullied like this, she would definitely be even more cruel than me," I said angrily. Zhao Yuhua said sternly, "You are a daughter of a clan, how can you be so violent? You've just married and you've already dared to openly disobey your husband and refute your elders. What will you not dare to do in the future?" I retorted, "How dare you blame me? If you could take responsibility and take good care of our 2 children, would this have happened? As a father, you were negligent in your duties, and have no remorse. I was cleaning up the mess for you, and you still dare to blame me. Who gave you the nerve to do that?" This was the first time Zhao Yuhua had been contradicted by me like this, and she said in anger, "Yu Wujiu." I shouted, "What?" "I'm telling you, Zhao Yuhua, I can give you some face for my sister's sake, but don't start a dyeing factory just because I give you some color. I, Yu Wujiu, won't look for trouble, but if anyone dares to mess with me, even if they are the king of heaven, I will beat them up." Zhao Yuhua was so angry that she laughed and said, "Good, good, very good." We had a rare falling out, so I didn't want to pretend with him anymore. I said contemptuously, "I'm fine. You don't need to tell me." Zhao Yuhua could no longer bear it and said, "You rude woman, take care of yourself," then walked away in anger. 16. After I made a big scene at the beau's house, the effect was very good. Originally, I was just the second wife of the eldest son. I was young and new to the house, so everyone in the beau's mansion looked down on me to some extent. But after this battle, everyone knew that I was brave, resourceful, and tough, and no one dared to ignore the 2 children of the eldest house anymore. My grandfather once taught me that if you are unsure, you can be patient for a while. But if you find an opportunity, you must strike immediately to eliminate the problem once and for all. Although Li had become my enemy, she had already realized how powerful I was, and no longer dared to provoke me. The lady and the old uncle were very dissatisfied with my strong style, but I had no other faults, so they couldn't do anything to me. Yunjie and Uyghur did not see my debate with the scholars with their own eyes, but after hearing the servant's retelling of the story, they both admired me very much. Especially Uyghur, although he is young, he knows who is good to him and who is not. Only Zhao Yuhua held a grudge against me, and simply stopped coming to the main room for breakfast. Does he think I miss him? He actually tried to control me in this way. I pretended not to know and pretended he didn't exist. But the 2 children are not like me. When Zhao Yuhua doesn't come, their little heads will look around, as if they are missing him very much. It is true that blood is thicker than water. Since Zhao Yuhua won't come, I will force him to come. Since he didn't come to the main house these days, he would naturally go to the concubine's house. If he didn't come for a day, I would ask Su and Lu to come and stand in front of me and behave properly. They would stand for the whole day, and were so tired that their waists and legs ached. As they were about to leave, I said calmly, "Do you know how to tell me?" The 2 concubines knew nothing about this and just kept muttering, "When gods fight, the little devils suffer." So no matter who Zhao Yuhua went to, they would make all kinds of excuses or persuade him to reconcile with me. Zhao Yuhua was so angry that she shouted, "Only women and villains are difficult to raise." She simply refused to return to the inner courtyard, and just slept in the study every night. I can't do anything to him, but I can mess with the servants in his study. The violent rectification lasted for about half a decade, and everyone around Zhao Yuhua was punished by me. Finally, he somehow figured it out and still came to the main room to have breakfast. The children were very happy to see him, and I returned to my soft voice. 17. As soon as the 2 children left, I immediately put down the teacup and made a gesture to see them off. Zhao Yuhua looked at me coldly for a moment before saying, "I really don't know what's going on with your heart." Without even raising my eyelids, I lazily said, "Women's hearts are like a needle in the sea." "You naturally don't understand." Zhao Yuhua turned around and said calmly, "Yu Wuzhou, is that jade rui really a gift from the emperor?" My heart skipped a beat, and I slowly said, "My grandfather has been repeatedly praised by the emperor, and our family has received countless gifts from the emperor. Why would I lie?" Zhao Yuhua sneered, "That is indeed a self-made item, but I know your sister. If it was really a gift from your grandfather, she wouldn't have given it to you or so casually, unless it was given to her by someone else." He left a few words unfinished and passed away. I let out a sigh, took the jade rui out of the drawer and stroked it gently. It is warm and soft, small and cute. When I was in Jiaguan, I always took it out to play with it. At that time. Never mind, I shook my head gently. The past cannot be retrieved, so we must always look forward. Zhao Yuhua is more clever than I thought. It seems that all these years of serving as an official have not been in vain. Just as I was thinking about it, Hong Yuan walked in from outside with a serious expression and whispered a few words in my ear. "So that's how it is," I said. Hong Yuan said angrily, "Miss, do you want to arrest her and interrogate her?" I shook my head. "Be careful not to damage the jade bottle by hitting the mouse. For Sister Yuna, we must act with caution." A few days later, I called Sister Yun over alone and asked her, "Would you like to go to the Wang family's girls' school?" The Wang family, the Minister of Rights, invited several very famous female teachers to open a girls' school at home, and only accepted the ladies from a few close families. This is the way I found from my mother when I went back to her home. Sister Yun didn't quite understand and asked, "Mother, what is the purpose of going to school? Is it the same as going to school with my cousins?" I smiled and said, Sister Yun, girls' schools are a little different. The books they read are more suitable for women, and they also teach music theory, painting, embroidery, and so on. Also, going to school can help you learn and gain knowledge, and you can also make friends your own age. It will do you good. After hearing my explanation, Sister Yun immediately understood, and nodded with a blushing face, my daughter is willing to go to school. I was overjoyed and arranged everything. Before leaving, I found an excuse to keep Yunjier's wet nurse, Zhai. Yunjier had always been very attached to Zhai. When she saw her stay, she looked back several times before looking away. When I saw the carriage go away, I said to Zhai, my sister is gone, you should make some arrangements. 18. Zhai was stunned and said with a flattering smile, what do you mean, madam? Hong Yuan sternly asked, how dare you smile so playfully? When Zhai saw me looking at her with a sneer, she finally understood something. Her eyes rolled and she said stubbornly, this servant does not understand what madam means. I was sitting at the top, and seeing her sticking out her neck and looking fearless, I felt very disgusted. Did you think that if you did it secretly, no one would find out? What did you say to Sister Yun that made her hate brother you so much? My sister entrusted her to you before she died, and you were so heartless and treacherous. After spending these days together, I found that Sister Yun's attitude towards brother you was very cold. After the confrontation with the Li family, I once asked Sister Yun why, as a sister, she didn't help since Tsonga had been bullying Yug for so long. If two people unite together, they will not be bullied so badly. Sister Yun stammered and was unable to speak. I understood at that moment that the child must have been deceived and instigated by someone with ulterior motives. And that person turned out to be Zhai, the person Yunjie relied on the most. Zhai's face froze, but she reacted very quickly and recovered her composure in an instant. She said aggrievedly, Madam, I don't understand what you said. Everything I did was for my sister's good. I took a deep breath. Some people won't cry until they see the coffin. Hong Yuan sneered, Zhai, was it you who told me that the former madam died because she gave birth to Yu Ji'er? If it weren't for Yu Ji'er, madam wouldn't have died. If I hadn't asked someone to lurk in Sister Yun's room for several days, there would have been no way of knowing these heart-wrenching words. Zhai was shocked by my words and immediately shook her head in panic. No, I never said that. I can swear that I never said such a thing. I stared at her and said slowly, I know all about your little tricks. After my sister passed away, you and yours wet nurse Song didn't get along. So you alienated the relationship between the two children and made Yuna recognize only you and listen to only you. In addition to these words, she also said a lot, such as others are not sincere to me, only I am sincere to you. I sneered and said, as for why, it must be because of your good-for-nothing brother. You stole Sister Yuna's jewelry to pawn, and the Song family found out, so you did such a stupid thing. Bring it up. As soon as I finished speaking, a wretched man with a bruised face and nose was dragged out by Lucci. When Zhai saw the man, she immediately cried out, Baogan, what's wrong with you? A trace of resentment flashed in her eyes as she said, Madam, why did you arrest my brother? He is innocent. Hong Yuan shouted, how dare you speak to my wife like that? I waved my hand and said, your brother is a glutton, a whoremonger and a gambler. He's a complete slacker. He relies on the power of the Marquis's mansion to bully men and women. His evil deeds are notorious. If you weren't still of some use, I would have skinned him alive long ago. The man named Baogan shouted for help, Sister, help me. I had Lucci take him away and told Zhai word by word, if you were just a petty thief, I could still tolerate you. But you've sowed discord between Yunjie and Yugur, and your intentions are not right. I cannot keep you. Zhai wiped her tears and raised her head, saying, Madam, I was assigned to Yunjie by the former madam. If you chase me away, madam, you will not agree. How dare you bring up my mother? He is really brave. I sneered, Mother has already said that everything will be done as I say. She gave me your indenture a long time ago. I can do whatever I want with you. If I hadn't gotten the okay from my mother, I wouldn't have gotten involved in this mess. Jai still refused to give up and said in panic, Madam, Sister Yun has been with me since she was born and can't leave me alone. If you chase me away, aren't you afraid that she will resent you? Hong Yuan angrily said, as a wet nurse, you take yourself too seriously. I know what Jai is planning. She is simply using Sister Yun as an excuse. The child is still young and doesn't understand many things. After all, I am not her biological mother. If I forcefully drive Jai away, Sister Yun might feel resentful. 19. But the more this happens, the more I can't keep her. I looked at Jai coldly and said, today, when Sister Yun gets home from school, go tell her that your brother is getting married and wants to take you to enjoy his life. That's why I'm letting you out of the house as a special favor. Whenever you have time in the future, come back to see her. As for what happens next, you don't have to worry about it. Jai stared at me without saying a word. I said calmly, Jai, I might as well tell you that you have no other choice. If you say one wrong word, your brother will lose something. Think about it, how many times can a man like him withstand such a blow? Jai roared and struggled hard to pounce. Hong Yuan restrained her with one hand and shouted, you won't cry until you see the coffin. I said coldly, let her go. Let her figure it out on her own. This kind of thing can only be handled better with the cooperation of the Jai family. Jai was trembling all over, with a look of fighting like a trapped beast on her face. I didn't rush her, I just looked at her quietly. After about an incense stick of time, she finally collapsed on the ground like a deflated lantern, looking decadent and desperate. I said, have you thought it through? Jai said softly, I understand. After I leave, please, madam, take pity on Sister Yun and treat her well. I sneered, Sister Yun is my niece, I will treat her well. Is it necessary for a wicked servant like you to remind me? That's about it. When Yunjier got home from school, Jai's expression changed again and again. Finally, she couldn't resist her love for her brother and finally said those words to Yunjier. Yunjier's face changed drastically, and she cried reluctantly, asking her not to leave. Hong Yuan advised, Sister, you don't know, Mother Jai is going there to enjoy her life and be with her brother, sister-in-law, and their family. If you don't let her go, she will be left alone in her old age, and won't that be even more pitiful? Sister Yun asked tearfully, Mom, is this true? Didn't you say you would never leave me? Jai was extremely heartbroken. It was true that she had been stealing in recent years, but she also loved Sister Yun. Life in the Beau's house was so comfortable that she would rather die than leave. But my brother is the most precious thing in her heart, she dared not disobey me, finally gritted her teeth and said, Miss Hong Yuan is right, this servant is going to enjoy herself. Sister, please don't worry about me. Hong Yuan said, Mom will definitely come back to visit me when she has time. Don't worry, I'll wait for you. Jai nodded dryly, hugged Yunjier tightly, and said with tears in her eyes, Jier, you must listen to Madam's words from now on and live a good life. Mom is leaving now. 20. After Mother Jai left, Sister Yun cried bitterly, and there were still traces of tears on her little face after she fell asleep. I left Yao Huang, the most gentle and clever of the maids, with Sister Yun, so that she could comfort the child. Back then, in the year when her sister fell ill and passed away, Mother Jai was the only one who stayed with Sister Yun. It is a big blow for a child to suddenly lose his mother, and now his close wet nurse. But I believe she can get through it. Sister Yun is no longer alone. She has me, Brother Yu, Zhao Yuhua, and her classmates and teachers in the college. From now on, her world will become bigger and bigger, and she will slowly forget about this old servant with ulterior motives. In the following days, Sister Yun was depressed all day long. I said to her, Mother understands your feelings for Mother Jai, but all good things must come to an end. Mother Jai is living a good life, and you should be happy for her. Yunjier's eyes were red as she said, Mother, after Mom passed away, Mother Zhai said that she was all I had. Now she doesn't want me anymore. My heart ached slightly. I closed my eyes and whispered, how could she be the only one you have? You still have me, your father, your grandparents, your maternal grandparents, and you. We are your family, the ones who love you the most. I held her shoulders and encouraged her, Sister Yun, your great-grandfather was a great general who defended our country, a great hero. You are also the daughter of a general. Mother believes in you. You can persevere no matter what difficulties you face. Sister Yun looked up at me, her eyes gradually becoming firm. She nodded heavily, Mother, I understand. Sister Yun will grow up slowly. What I want to teach her is not only separation but also strength. 21. Sister Yun recovered quickly, and even her attitude towards Brother Yu finally changed. During this period, I taught her from time to time, told her the importance of brothers, and seriously clarified that her mother's death had nothing to do with Uyghur. This is indeed true. These words are not only said by me, but also by Yao Huang and her husband. Gradually, Sister Yun's wariness towards Brother Yu disappeared. The brother and sister gradually became close and became as close as brothers. The fact that I dealt with Mother Zhai was not a secret. I could only hide it from children like Sister Yun and Brother Yu, but not from other people in the Beau's mansion. In the eyes of the Lady Dowager and Mrs. Li, all I rely on is the Yu family. But since I ruthlessly drove away the old servant left by my sister, my family will have some opinions about me. But my mother not only didn't, but after seeing the changes in her two children, she was so moved that she hugged me and cried. Then she waved her hand and spent a huge amount of money to give me a horse farm in the suburbs of Beijing. My mother wanted to thank me and acknowledge my efforts. Those in the Beau's house who wanted to laugh at me finally gave up in disappointment. I also feel very emotional. Although my mother didn't raise me, she knows me very well. In the past, when I had something on my mind, I didn't feel uncomfortable staying in my uncle's house. Ever since my children's problems were solved one by one, I have found life more and more difficult. 10 years. How many decades can a person have in his life? I miss the wind of Jiaguan, the sand of Jiaguan, and myself galloping on horseback in the past. I'm used to being wild and can't stand being restricted. My mother bought this horse farm for me, which really touched my heart. Looking at the wide and flat ground, I felt excited and high-spirited. The horses brought back from Jiaguan had not stretched their muscles for a long time, and had gained weight. I ran like crazy all day, but I didn't feel tired at all. Instead, I felt full of energy. This is the life people should live. After that, I spent every day at the horse farm, sometimes bringing Yunjir and Yugir with me, and asking someone to find them 2 ponies to ride. Logically speaking, as the crown prince's wife, I shouldn't go out every day. But the madam didn't care about anything, and Mrs. Li didn't dare to offend me. I just said that I was going out to run the horse farm, and no one could say anything. During this period, Zhao Yuhua has changed a lot. He has realized that I don't like him. But he seemed to have gotten used to being with me, coming to the main room more and more often, and sometimes even hinting that I wanted to stay overnight. 22. I have said almost all the nasty things to Zhao Yuhua, and I really don't understand why he is still interested in me. But if I refuse him too many times, I'm worried that it will affect my 2 children. After all, Zhao Yuhua is their biological father. I brought 4 capable subordinates from Jiaguan, namely Hong Yuan, Lu Qi, Yao Huang and Zi Xian. Hong Yuan is good at intelligence gathering, Lu Qi is particularly good at torture, Yao Huang is considerate and insightful, and Zi Xian kills people like crazy and is cold-blooded and ruthless. I think I can only discuss this matter with Yao Huang. Yao Huang smiled gently and said, from my observation, the son-in-law is a man with a very high opinion of himself. The young lady's indifference to him has only aroused his desire to conquer her. After saying that, she brushed her hair across her forehead and said, men are so superficial. I stroked my forehead and said, is there any way to make him give up? Yao Huang thought for a moment and said, the stronger a man's self-esteem, the more he worries about being rejected. If you just stay away from him and ignore him, he will naturally understand. I hope so. In the following days, I became increasingly cold towards Zhao Yuhua, and ran to the horse farm every day to avoid him. Zhao Yuhua did not back down, but became more and more excited. She tried to please me all day long, gave me gifts, and sometimes even ran to the horse farm to pick me up and take me home. When the servants of the Beau's mansion saw me, they began to praise my virtuous character, and taught the child left by my sister with all their heart, and finally touched the heart of the prince. Even my mother heard the news and came to me and said, actually, your brother-in-law is not a bad person. He is both talented in literature and martial arts, and he has a bright future. If you can think things through and live a good life with him, I will be relieved. What the hell? This is all his wishful thinking. I was fed up with being harassed by Zhao Yuhua. One day, I was at the horse farm thinking about how to beat him up when suddenly a man rode his horse towards me from a distance. His figure was extremely familiar, and the closer I got, the more frightened I became. It turned out to be an old friend. 23. When he saw me, he smiled and said, Xiao Wu, long time no see. A's? I called softly. It has been almost 2 years since we last saw each other since we parted at Jiaguan. Aze was as handsome and elegant as ever. He rode skillfully alongside me, gazing at me intently as he complained, it's been so long since you've returned to the capital, and you haven't even thought of visiting me. Of course I know where he lives, but what's the point of saying this? I just said, my current status makes it inconvenient for me to contact you. Ace suddenly stopped, sighed, and asked, are you doing well now? I looked into the distance and said, very good. Both of my children are growing up well. No one in the Beau mansion dares to mess with me. As long as Zhao Yuhua's wishful thinking is resolved, everything will be fine. Aze lowered his head and said softly, if you feel it's okay, I'm relieved. I sighed silently. That day we rode together for a long time at the stable, just like we did in the past. It wasn't until my horse protested that I took him back to water and grass. Before leaving, Aze whispered, Xiaowu, if I want to see you in the future, can I still come over here? I said frankly, the racecourse is open for business, so you can come. However, please come incognito, just like today. Aze smiled sincerely, Xiaowu, I'm really happy today. On the way back, I couldn't help but feel emotional. Thinking of the happy days that Aze and I spent in Jiaguan, I suddenly felt like crying. Because I know that time is gone forever. There will never be such days again. After I got home, Zhao Yuhua was waiting for me in the room with a gloomy face, as if someone owed him 100,000 taels of silver. Is there something wrong? I asked listlessly. Zhao Yuhua slowly raised her head, stared into my eyes and asked, who are you with today? 24. Zhao Yuhua's tone sounded like he was accusing me of something, which made me feel very disgusted. I looked at him quietly for a moment and said, what does it have to do with you who I'm with? Zhao Yuhua's forehead was bulging with veins as she angrily shouted, I took a detour to pick you up today, only to find you with a young man. You have no self-respect. Yu Wujiu, you are my wife, and you have never smiled at me like that. It turned out that he saw me and Aze. Then he probably didn't see what Aze looked like, otherwise he wouldn't have reacted this way. I scoffed at Zhao Yuhua's anger and said speechlessly, I married you, not sold myself to you. What gives you the right to yell at me? If it were in the past, I would have knocked out a few of his teeth. Zhao Yuhua stood up suddenly, walked over to me, and grabbed my wrist tightly. You don't want to sleep with me and keep me away from you. Is it because you have someone else in your heart? He was too close to me, which made me feel uncomfortable. I said in a deep voice, let go. Zhao Yuhua stared at me and said, I won't let go unless you explain it to me clearly. A nameless fire surged in my heart, I shook it off and shouted, don't touch me. Zhao Yuhua was shaken off by me, her eyes filled with indignation. She leaned over and said, Wujio, since you've married me, you must be my wife, bear me children, and stay with me forever. Is he trying to force himself on me? Because the noise was quite loud, Hong Yuan and Lucci immediately ran in from outside, looking at Zhao Yuhua warily, ready to take action at any time. Zhao Yuhua shouted, "Get out." I waved to Hong Yuan and Lucci. They looked at each other, knew that I couldn't suffer any loss, and slowly retreated. Zhao Yuhua thought I had submitted, so she pushed me against the wall, and said affectionately, "You are still young, and don't understand what the love between husband and wife is. I will treat you well in the future." Before he could finish, I finally couldn't bear it anymore and suddenly swung out with a palm. Zhao Yuhua was too close to me and had no time to defend himself, so he could only block unconsciously to reduce some of the force, but he was still hit in the chest. You. The next second, he spat out a mouthful of blood. 25. Zhao Yuhua covered her chest with her right hand, looked at me in shock, and said, "You actually know martial arts?" I looked at him quietly, pursed my lips, and said, "I grew up in Jiaguan, so it's not surprising that I know some boxing." Just after he finished speaking, Zhao Yuhua coughed again, and with a wow sound, he spat out a mouthful of blood. I was so angry just now that I couldn't control my strength. I cleared my throat and said, feeling a little guilty, "It's just a concussion, nothing serious." Zhao Yuhua gave a bitter laugh, "You Wujio, I really don't recognize you anymore. I've been practicing martial arts since I was 10, so I naturally know you're quite skilled. What are you hiding from me? You know, I'm your husband. Still learning martial arts at the age of 10. I scoffed, "That's not martial arts training at all. It's just showmanship. Martial arts have only one purpose, to kill. Only on the battlefield can one be honed." Zhao Yuhua was so shocked she was speechless. She whispered, "I've always felt you looked down on me. Turns out it's true. Having said that, I don't want to hide it anymore. My grandfather once said that you, the officials in the capital, are all greedy for pleasure and idle in your positions. Of course, don't mind that my father is also among them. My grandfather liked to attack all civil servants indiscriminately. I was deeply influenced by my grandfather since I was a child, so naturally I take his words as my guiding principles. So from the beginning, everyone said that Zhao Yuhua was talented in both literature and martial arts, handsome, and a good candidate for a husband. But to me, that was all bullshit. I hate civil servants the most. There is no way he can compare to me in martial arts, not even to the red, green, yellow, and purple." 26. I looked at Zhao Yuhua and said bluntly, "I'm not suitable for the Bo mansion, and I wouldn't be a good wife. I'm willing to marry here just for our 2 children. My mother and I have a 10-year agreement. After 10 years, I will return to Jiaguan. If roundabout methods don't work, you have to be more direct." Zhao Yuhua was even more shocked, and could not speak for a long time. "What do you think of my Jinyang Marquis mansion? You can come and go as you please," Zhao Yuhua said painfully with blood on her lips. I sneered, "If you couldn't take good care of Yua and Yuna, why would I sacrifice my precious 10 years? Do you think I am willing to stay in this shabby yard all day? Now that we've opened up, please cooperate and raise the child well. When I'm gone, I'll remember your kindness." Zhao Yuhua slowly raised her head, a cold look in her eyes. "What if I don't agree? You are my wife, and if I don't agree, you can't leave." I glanced at him and said, "My legs are on my body, I can walk whenever I want. If you're willing to divorce, that would be great. If you're not willing, can you stop me?" It's not that I underestimate him. Even if all the people in the entire Bo's mansion were added together, they would not be enough for red, green, yellow, and purple to take 2 blows each. Zhao Yuhua clenched his fists tightly and stared at me fiercely without saying a word. His eyes were filled with resentment. I didn't want to push him too far, so I whispered, "After 10 years, the children won't need a mother anymore, and you can enjoy a life of luxury with a beautiful wife and concubines. Brother-in-law, I don't like the capital. If you still have some feelings for me, don't stop me. 27. After Zhao Yuhua left, I sent someone to give him some medicine for his injuries. I was afraid that he would be too proud to seek medical treatment, and if he was seriously injured, it would be a problem for me. But this incident hurt him badly. He stayed indoors for several days, and even his 2 children were very worried. Hong Yuan said, "The people in the capital city are indeed very fragile." Lu Qi said, "If this happened in Jiaguan, their intestines would spill out, and they would just stuff them back in and continue fighting." Zxian usually spoke the least, but at this moment she also said, "It's useless." Only Yao Huang was at a loss for words. "My son-in-law is hurt in his heart, not his body. When will you guys learn to be sensible?" I couldn't help but smile. Apart from me, even my people are not suitable for the capital. I won't disturb Zhao Yuhua, and let him figure it out slowly. After that, I continued to go to the ranch to play every day. Ace would come over to play for a while every 3 to 5 days. He didn't talk about love and romance, but only chatted with me about horse racing. But I was afraid of irritating Zhao Yuhua again, so I said to Ace, "You'd better not come here too often these days." Ziqiang smiled and said, "But what did your in-laws say?" I sighed, "My husband, we were together last time we saw each other. You should know that if there is unrest in the inner house, it will be very troublesome." Ace lowered his head and said after a moment, "Okay." When I got in front of him, I heard him whisper, "We can't go back to the way things were, can we?" I closed my eyes and said, "Yes, there's no going back." As I was speaking, I saw Zhao Yuhua standing in the corner with a pale face. I didn't know how long she had been waiting. After seeing A's face, he finally couldn't remain calm anymore. "Your humble servant pays respects to His Royal Highness the Crown Prince." 28. On the way back in the carriage, Zhao Yuhua could no longer contain herself. "I wanted to have a good talk with you, but who knew this person turned out to be the Crown Prince? Yu Wujiu, you owe me an explanation." I saw that his eyes were red and his expression was dark and stubborn. I thought he would not give up until he got to the bottom of the matter. If I had kept silent, he might have thought something wrong. I sighed and said, "There's nothing to hide. Actually, it's really nothing. The story begins 15 years ago. When my mother gave birth to me, my father was serving as an official near Jiaguan. When I was less than 2 years old, my father received an order to be transferred to another place to serve as an official. My mother, seeing my young age, could not bear to see me make the long journey, so she left me at my maternal grandfather's house for 15 years. Since I was a child, my grandfather raised me as a boy. When I was 12 years old, I followed my grandfather into the battlefield to kill the enemy. At that time, my grandfather had 4 grandsons, so my family made me the 5th and announced to others that I was my grandfather's 5th grandson. My brothers have called me Xiaowu since I was a child. Thinking of those years, I slowly fell into memories. I was 13 years old that year, and Ace was sent to Jiaguan by the emperor for training. At that time, no one knew his true identity except his grandfather and uncle. In order to prevent Ace from getting into trouble, my uncle didn't dare to let him go to the front line. He only handed him over to my 4th brother, and asked him to take him around to familiarize him with the place and find some things to do. But my 4th brother found it troublesome and didn't want to accompany the young boy all day, so he pushed him to me. Unexpectedly, Ace and I hit it off right away and had a great conversation. The 2 of us went hunting and horseback riding, and sometimes I took him with me to carry out some small tasks. It was really good back then. Ace and I laughed all day long, and were as happy as 2 monkeys. But Jiaguan was not always peaceful, and enemies attacked from time to time. Once I received a mission to attack the enemy camp at night, and lure the snake out of its hole. In order to let Ace gain some experience, I specially asked him to join us. Unexpectedly, I was careless that time. The enemy seemed to know that the prince was here, and the number of enemies that came was several times more than before. We didn't wait for any reinforcements, and we were defeated along the way and almost lost our lives. Fortunately, the people around me were experienced and finally found a secluded place to hide. At that time, I also blocked a sword for A's. I still have that scar on my shoulder now. Now that I think about it, I'm lucky that I'm loyal enough. If A's died in this unknown battle, the entire Jayaguan couldn't bear it. At that time, A's hugged me and cried, saying that he would never let me down in the future, and would share wealth with me. I said, what's the big deal? We're soldiers. Even if our intestines spill out, we can just stuff them back in and continue killing the enemy. A's face was covered with snot and tears, and he sobbed, Xiao Wu, your mouth is much harder than your knife. Finally, at the critical moment, the third and fourth brothers finally led the troops to help us and saved our 2 lives. 29. We escaped death this time, and my grandfather was furious. That's how I learned A's true identity. Thinking back on it, I gasped. A's also knew that I was not General Mighty's grandson, but his granddaughter. Zhao Yuhua listened quietly the whole time, as still as a statue. It was not until I got to this point that he said dryly, that jade Rui. I nodded gently, yes, that was given to me by His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. A's and I are honest and upright people, and have never done anything dirty. But the happiness passed without him noticing that time. Later, His Majesty summoned him back. Before leaving, A's asked me if I was willing to marry him as the Crown Princess. I thought about it all night and rejected him. I told Zhao Yuhua, I'm not ashamed of myself or feel unworthy of him. In fact, my grandfather said I'm as capable as any man, and the best girl in the world. I just feel that I am not qualified to be a crown princess, let alone a queen who rules the country. So I gave the things that A's gave me to my sister, which means I want to forget the past. Zhao Yuhua forced a self-deprecating smile and said sadly, then why did you come back? If I can't even keep you as the crown princess, what virtue do I, Zhao Yuhua, have? I shrugged lightly. My sister was seriously ill, so I went home to attend the funeral. That's when I realized I was the only one left with my parents, so I stayed. Later, everything was just fate. 30. Zhao Yuhua listened for a while and seemed to be shocked. I said earnestly, so, no matter what, I will definitely return to Jayaguan. Because that's my home. I'm staying here now only out of gratitude to my parents and sisterly duty, not for you. Never. Zhao Yuhua sighed and punched the carriage hard. With a bang, blood flowed from his hand. No matter what your past is, you are now a wife of the Zhao family. You owe your parents, but I don't owe you anything. What should I do? Zhao Yuhua roared. I closed my eyes weakly. Zhao Yuhua shook my shoulders, her eyes filled with eagerness. Wujiu, can't you just put your heart into me? I'll take you back to Jayaguan to visit my relatives, and I'll go meet your grandfather. No matter what, you're still a woman, and you'll have to get married. I pushed him away and said firmly, who said I won't get married in the future? There are countless handsome men in Jayaguan, so I don't have to worry about whether I can get married. 31. The days passed quickly until Yunjie was 8 years old and Yug was 5 years old. From this year on, Yugur also went to school. The school he attended was the Zhao family school. Everyone knew that I, Yu Wujiu, was the most protective of my people, so even Sungur, who had dominated the school for 2 years, didn't dare to make things difficult for Yugur. Brother Yu would run to school every day with an air of arrogance, and then follow me around happily, telling me all the trivial things that happened in school. Sister Yun is becoming more and more like a grown-up girl. She looks more and more like my sister, and even her temperament is like hers, kind and generous, gentle and sensible. But I don't want her to be so sensible. Being sensible only benefits the husband's family, just like what Zhao Yuhua did to my sister, giving her whatever she wants and treating her like a boss. True happiness is to follow your own heart. So in addition to teaching Sister Yun, I would occasionally give her some little troubles and observe how she handles them. No matter what she does, I will review it with her and tell her how to maximize her benefits. Sister Yun almost treated me like her own mother. She once said with a smile, "Mother, did you learn this skill from your father?" I didn't get angry either and said, "Your father is not worth my effort." After 2 years, the two children became more and more dependent on me and trusted me. Especially Yuger, he gradually got rid of his timidity and occasionally became naughty. I always think boys can be naughty. Being naughty is an option as long as you can withstand my family rules. But this child has been bad lately. Whenever I teach him a lesson, he runs away, yelling. The master said, "If you receive a small stick, you must walk away if you receive a big stick." I'm not being unfilial. I'm just listening to the sage's words. What a shitty saint. 32. Zhao Yuhua has become much calmer in the past 2 years, and his feelings towards me have become more reserved. He no longer begged me to stay, but just tried hard to prove that he was worthy, which was a bit like boiling a frog in warm water. He was very good to me, so good that he even had a reputation in the capital as a wife-doting man. Unfortunately, he still doesn't understand me. I liked A's at first and he promised me the position of future mother of the nation, but I still refused. I won't stay for just one man. Men will only affect the speed at which I draw my sword. Just like that, as the year draws to a close, I will be spending my third New Year in the Jinyang Earl's mansion. The capital city was bustling with activity, but amidst all this activity, I could sense a hint of unrest in people's hearts. My mother came to me and said, "Your father said that the emperor has been unwell recently, and several of the princes are getting restless." A few days ago, the third prince, born to concubine Li, was reprimanded and told to return to his fiefdom after the new year. I understand, this feeling is the eve of a conspiracy. During breakfast, I said to Zhao Yuhua, "The third prince will definitely not return to his fiefdom peacefully. If I were him, I would take advantage of the new year to cause some trouble." Years ago, my grandfather had analyzed several princes with me. A's is the crown prince and is deeply loved by the emperor. It's just that he lost his mother at an early age, so the other princes were always a little unwilling to accept it. Zhao Yuhua saw me say this and said solemnly, "Don't worry, I'm in the Ministry of Justice and won't have much to do with them. We'll also have extra patrols at home these days. Even if there's trouble, we won't be in any trouble." I sighed secretly. The Beau mansion was okay, as it was a wealthy family, but what about the common people? What should they do? 33. On New Year's Eve, the whole family gathers together to stay up until the new year. At this moment, there was sudden chaos outside. There were people passing by on the street from time to time, and there were also some roving bandits who took advantage of the situation to rob people everywhere. As they had been prepared for this, Zhao Yuhua and several of his brothers were on high alert in the mansion, with a large number of people deployed in various places. The lady was in poor health, and upon hearing this she trembled with fear, chanting Amitabha while saying, "What a sin! What a sin!" I consoled him, "The third prince's men will only attack the imperial palace, and won't attack the nobles for now. Those outside are mostly roving bandits seeking to take advantage of the situation. They're nothing to be feared." The lady nodded, "That's good, that's good." Li usually doesn't dare to refute me, but now she must be frightened and muttered, "You sound like the truth." I put down the teacup in my hand and stood up suddenly. Li was startled, "What are you doing?" I was just saying it casually. I sneered, "Every citizen has a share of responsibility for the fate of their nation. I'll go out and take a look too." After saying that, I took Hong Yuan outside. I don't know if someone has an old grudge against the Beau family, but there are at least 200 or 300 people gathered outside the gate, armed with weapons and shouting curses. It's their wife. She's rich but unkind, lending money at high interest rates, and plundering countless people's wealth. Brothers, charge in. All that gold and silver is ours. In addition, there was some unbridled cursing. It is obvious that most of the people in this team are first-class thieves and bandits. After hearing these words, everyone's faces turned a little ugly. Li had been lending money at high interest rates for the past 2 years, and it seemed that he had offended many people. Zhao Yuhua's second brother panicked. What should we do? We don't have that many people in the mansion. If these 300 people rush in, we'll all be finished. The third brother said, if not, let's run away. It's better than sitting there and waiting to die. Zhao Yuhua remained relatively calm and said, no, there are quite a few people at the back door. We are in the mansion, and at least we have a barrier. If we go out, wouldn't it be even more dangerous? A few people argued for a while, but there was no solution. 34. Where there is great chaos, there will inevitably be small chaos. At this time, the Jinwu guards on night patrol must be unable to take care of themselves, and the noble families can only rely on their own armed forces. I clenched my fist slightly, turned back to the yard resolutely, and gathered all the people under my command. Over the years, I have brought a total of 30 people from Jiaguan to the capital. They are all elite members of the surprise attack team. Each of them is capable of standing on their own, and has killed countless enemies. I had everyone put on their light armor, draw their weapons, and said, let's go. It's our turn to take action. We arrived at the gate. Zhao Yuhua saw me in military uniform and exclaimed, what are you doing? I gave orders over him, saying, now, divide everyone in the house into 2 groups. One group will guard the main hall, where the old lady, uncle, and children are all. The other group will guard the other back and corner gates of the mansion. Zhao Yuhua said anxiously, what do you want to do? Wu Jiu, now is not the time to joke. I said coldly, you're kidding. The enemy is right behind the gate. Do you have a plan to deal with them? If they break the gate open, will we be at their mercy? Scholars are really good for nothing. I shouted, everyone, get out of the way. Let's open the door and let them in. We'll catch them in the act. No, no. Zhao Yuhua's younger brothers all looked terrified. We can just wait for the Jinwu guards to come and rescue us. It's better than dying now. I pushed them away with one hand, cleaned my ears, and said, all right, stop talking nonsense with me. Let's all go back to the main hall. 35. I didn't want to waste any more time with them, so I simply asked Hong Yuan to invite them back to the main hall. Li cried in the hall, you act recklessly, please don't bring trouble to us. The lady also said, what misfortune for our family. What misfortune for our family. Only Sister Yun and Brother Yu could hear, Mother will definitely win. I smiled slightly, my heart was surging and my blood was boiling. I haven't felt this way for a long time. Holding 2 swords in my hands, I shouted, open the door. The door slowly opened and the firelight outside flickered. Those people rushed in, with greedy expressions on their faces. Open the door, open the door. They're scared. Brothers, give us as much gold, silver, and jewelry as you want. I took a deep breath and said coldly, no one who came in today will be spared. My men all shouted, kill. The sound was deafening, like a thunder in the dark night. 200 or 300 stragglers are like chopping vegetables and melons to us soldiers who have experienced the real battlefield. Before I could make a move, Zxian rushed out with a whoosh, raised her knife, and chopped down 5 or 6 people in an instant. Blood and flesh flew everywhere in the air, and for a moment, it was like stepping into the Azura hell. The leader outside the door rushed in, thinking that we had given up on resisting us, with a greedy smile on his face, but in an instant, his head and body were separated. They panicked immediately, but unfortunately they didn't know what a terrible opponent they were about to face. Hong Yuan and Lu Qi attacked almost simultaneously, one of them yelling, the one who killed the most people this time must be me. Another one yelled, it's been a long time since my knife has drunk blood. The main hall of the Bo mansion was completely silent. The few people who had just shouted were all stunned. I couldn't stay still any longer and rushed forward. If we don't kill them soon, they will all be snatched away by us. 36. These 300 people are like targets made of straw. The 30 of us rushed forward and killed them all in less than a moment, almost in the time of an incense stick. The last few people were so scared when they saw us looking like murderous gods that they almost peed their pants. They turned around and ran away crying. I quickly called out to the doorman, "Close the door. Don't let them escape. Since you have chosen to come in, don't even think about leaving." These people were so frightened that they trembled all over. They knelt on the ground and begged for mercy, saying, "We were really wrong. We were deceived. We won't dare to do it again." Xian said, "Stop talking nonsense, just kill him." Lucci said, "No, we have to stay and investigate to see who sent them." A cold light flashed in Xian's eyes, and she swung her sword, quickly slashing the necks of several people, leaving only one. "One survivor is enough. Lucci." I had all the bodies brought here and stacked neatly at the door of the uncle's house as a warning. The lady and the others didn't dare come out to see the pile of corpses. By the time we had chopped the corpses at the front door until their hands and feet were scattered and torn into pieces, Mrs. Li had already vomited bile. Zhao Yuhua looked at me quietly and said, "Is this the real you?" I sent someone to bring the horse over, jumped on it, and said, "I want to go take a look outside." Zhao Yuhua held my reins tightly and said, "Don't go out. Everything is fine in the mansion, but it's too dangerous outside. You can't go." I looked into the distance and said firmly, "Everything is fine in our mansion, but there are still many people suffering outside." The location of the imperial palace in the distance was also ablaze. "I believe in A's, he won't fight an unprepared battle. Your Majesty is wise, I will not join in the fun. I'm going to go outside and deal with those people with ulterior motives who are taking advantage of the situation, so that innocent people will not be affected by this struggle for imperial power. Let's go. Let's fight our way out." 37. The capital city is destined to be sleepless tonight. After going out, I took people to Yu's house first. My father is an old fox. He has more enemies than ever before. Sure enough, the battle was in full swing there, and most of the servants and guards in the mansion had been killed or injured. Seeing me arrive, my father cheered up and started shouting immediately. I took the lead and chopped off half of the leader's head. As the saying goes, to shoot a man, shoot his horse first. To capture a thief, capture the leader first. This group of people suddenly became leaderless, and my men rushed forward and killed them all in a moment. Next, I went from house to house, and if I saw anyone taking advantage of the situation to rob, I would kill them with my knife. In one night, I don't know how many people's blood my sword has soaked up. On the way, I also got in touch with the deputy commander of the Jinwu Guard, and he was very moved by my righteous act. We split our troops into two groups and saved many civilians from danger. When the sun rises, everything finally comes to an end. The third prince was imprisoned, his mother was poisoned to death, and all the rebellious generals were captured. When I returned to the uncle's house covered in blood, no one dared to breathe. Only Zhao Yuhua and the two children ran over and asked me worriedly if I was injured. I felt relieved only when I saw that the blood was all someone else's. Li and other female relatives of the sisters-in-law did not dare to speak loudly when passing by me, and the lady-in-law would be frightened at the sight of me. Oh my God! I saved their lives, how could you be so rude? After this incident, the emperor rewarded me according to my merits, and the deputy commander of the Jinwu Guard reported my heroic act to the court. My father mediated and attributed the achievement to Zhao Yuhua. Zhao Yuhua was stunned and asked, "Why would you do this?" I said, "Didn't you say you didn't owe me anything?" When I told him I wanted to leave, Zhao Yuhua refused to agree. Now, I want him to owe me. Zhao Yuhua was stunned. After a long moment, she softly said, "I'll write the divorce agreement." Extra. 8 years later, I sent Sister Yun into a bridal sedan. She said gratefully, "Mother, I will live a good life and will never let you down. You can pursue what you love now. This child is really sensible." I nodded, and when I was packing my bags, Yugir jumped out and asked me to take him with me no matter what. This one do. Your father is the heir of the Bo family, and you are his eldest son. How can you come with me? There is a title to inherit in the family. Yugir refused, throwing a tantrum all day long. Mother, please take me away, please, I'm willing to do anything. I also want to see Jiaguan, the place you've been thinking about so much. Zhao Yuhua, with white hair on his temples, said to Yugir, you can go. If you pass the imperial examination, you can go with your mother. Yugir cheered happily, my son will definitely pass the exam. After he left, I was speechless and said, it's a wonder he can pass the exam. Zhao Yuhua smiled and shook her head, a delaying tactic. I asked, what would you do if he actually passed the exam? Zhao Yuhua said, then you can take him with you. After a few years of training, maybe he can become a decent person. I'm going back, but I have to take my 7-foot-tall son with me. Why? I seriously suspect that Zhao Yuhua has bad intentions. It's been tough for you these past few years. After I'm gone, you can remarry. When I am in a good mood, I am particularly reasonable. Zhao Yuhua smiled faintly and said, don't worry about that. Anyway, remember, you can come back anytime you want. I don't know what to say. I have always hated him. But habit is a terrible thing. When I face him now, it's like facing my own family. Brother-in-law, don't wait for me. I won't come back. After that, I went to say goodbye to my parents. I don't know when we will meet again. Jiaguan, here I come.